Did I leave the stove on?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Opie-Verse. I am, as ever, your host, Opie1. Hey, JB, now is not the time, mate. Now is not the time. How are you anyway? How are you? So yeah, how are we all? Who have we got out there tonight? Of course, we have JB Bricks. Nice for you to drop in. Nick, how are you doing? Brick Bob, thank you for coming over from TikTok. Hope you're well. Who else we got? Give us some. There he's there, Brick Bob. Yeah, how are we doing? How are we doing, everyone? How's everybody's week been? How's everybody's weekend been? Have the most important question, of course, being no spoilers in the chat, please. But do I know anger? And hey people, hey James, how's it going? But yeah, who has seen the Batman? Just simple yes or no. Liked it, didn't like it, mid, whatever you want to see it. But yeah, no spoilers in the chat for that. But I went to see it. That's all I'm going to see it. I give a little bit of a thought on it earlier on, but never mind. And we're not here to talk about the Batman. We're here to talk with our guest this evening and to introduce our guests to a wider audience and to you. Before who knows what the future may hold. But yeah, tonight, episode 25 feels like a bit of a sorry about that. Don't know why it keeps doing that, but yeah, hopefully that's all right. Give me a sec. Some audio issues. There you go. That should be better now. So yeah, some audio issues. For some reason, my mic keeps disconnecting, and when it reconnects, it doesn't reconnect properly. So never mind. Anyway, we're back. Can I do a Jabber impression? I don't think I can. Off the top of my head. Maybe we'll do one in a bit. But look, ladies and gentlemen, what I will see is who knows where this conversation will go tonight. I don't really know what we won't talk about the Batman in great detail, certainly with spoilers and all that. But if anything, I can't think, like, Book of Boba Fett is so long gone now that I feel like we don't need this anymore. And we won't talk about the Batman because it's too close, but who knows? But if you see that on, we'll give you a bit of a warning for that. And most importantly, this is just comparison to TikTok. It's this is a more kind of mature stream more than anything else, rather than adult. So we just more mature themes and references. So with that, just the level of conversation is just a little bit more mature, more than anything else. Always with respect, always with kind of from with wholeheartedness. But yeah, it's just letting you know that it could be a little bit more adult. But you never know. It's not always. And we haven't had nudity yet, but it's just I have to warn you. So there we go. Hey, Spawn, how are you? Nice to job in. Hope you're well. Anyway, shall we get on with it? So my guest this evening, you may know them, you may not know them. They are a Star Wars creator. They are a little bit of a Lego creator, but they are a Star Wars creator mostly, but certainly a fandom creator, I would call it. Do we call it that? Who covers all things fandom, so a bit of Marvel, bit of DC sometimes. I know they've been talking about Lord of the Rings, which actually I haven't talked to anybody about Lord of the Rings yet, and I'm excited for the new Lord of the Rings series. So potentially we'll talk about a bit of that. Yo, Zeus, how's it going? But yeah, we'll bring them in. You, as I say, you may or may not know them, but they are Grandmaster Beal. Good evening, sir.
Hello there. How are you all doing?
How are you?
Excellent. I'm on the Opie-Verse, so I can't be any better.
Exactly. It's Sunday evening. How better could your life have? How better could your week have ended? But never.
I mean, I could have maybe watched the Batman again, but You know,
So,
other than
so
that.
this is a really good point, right? So this is my lasting thought on it. Is really enjoyed it. I'm going to take some time to digest it. At some point, I will rewatch
Yeah.
it, but I don't think it's very rewatchable, and I see
It's
that
a
as a
3-hour
credit.
film. Yeah. I'm the only 3-hour film I've been able to consistently rewatch is Return of the King. Any other 3-hour film, I
Yeah,
can't sit down for that amount of time and just watch it. I don't have the attention span.
no, and I totally agree. And I think even with Return of the King, you can do it because there are parts where you can almost like phase, like your attention can fade a
Yeah,
little bit, and like
yeah, exactly. But like
you can go on your phone.
the action sequences in it are just so engaging,
Yeah,
and it's not something that you kind of phase out of. It's something that it can just hold your interest. But like the rest of it is just a bit like you can tune out, you can tune in, that
mhm.
kind of thing.
I totally agree. Totally agree. But I do you know what? It'll be nice to talk about a Lord of the Rings actually, because I haven't haven't had that opportunity yet, and obviously it's very
Yes,
timely at the minute. But we'll get
exactly. Yeah,
into it. But before we get in that, let's just like find out a little bit more about you, because what I would see
yeah,
is you've I don't know how long you've been on TikTok, but you've had a bit of a rapid rise to fame. You've done great at gathering your followers. Um,
yeah.
your content is very consistent. It's very good, very informative. So yeah, like where did you come from? What made you?
Oh,
And that's always the important one. Like what made, especially because Star Wars TikTok, Star Wars social media can be an absolute minefield. What made you
it
think
can.
I'm going to win here?
Yeah. So really I've been doing this since I think I started like about midway through the Bad Batch off of
Okay,
memory because I joined one of I think it might have been Darth Choco's public server and I just met a few
he's
people on
got
there
so
that
much to
made
answer for. Like the amount of us that are here because of
yeah.
him.
Honestly, and I just started, I started talking to other content creators. I think I met Choco a couple times through Discord, and honestly, I just started talking to people. I
Mhm.
think I made a couple of podcast appearances, and I just thought, you know what, why not? Because and then I got really, really into the books, as you can see,
Yeah.
and I started deep diving into it, making content, and then when I did my prequel rankings video back in December, that got 400k, which
Yeah,
was
oh, yeah. People don't like opinion. People are fire on opinions.
yeah. I mean, it was funny because I went from 600-700 views all of a sudden to getting one get about. I remember because I was going out, I was doing a pub crawl that night with a couple of mates, and I looked, I looked at the thing. I'm like, mate, my TikTok's got up like 20k views in the past hour. What's going on? And then from there, it just grew and grew, and I'm at where I'm at now, where I'm really happy with how well like my platform's been growing. I've actually followed you for a long time as well. Like I started following you back in, I think it was early lockdown, and I think I, yeah, your Lego content, and that actually was what got me into getting more Lego. Like I've got
Don't blame
my
me,
light
because
crew.
you're skinned. It's not my fault. You've got no money, right?
Oh, that's more mainly down to books and audiobooks as well. But like I made like I did a bunch of Lego stuff back in early lockdown, and I was following you for quite a while. And when I saw you follow me back on my prequels, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because I'd been following you for quite a while.
No, well, it's amazing how often I come across people who follow me
Yeah.
who like it was same with James, so Darth Veritas.
Yes, I know. I think he's commented on a few of my stuff. I'm
He's
not entirely
like
sure.
I was following him quite a bit. Sorry, I wasn't following him, but he would pop up quite a bit, and then we got chatting. And then, if you know Darth Walker Harvey, who's
I
more on the
think I've
Lego
heard of him.
side of it, but
Yes, I think I know him.
so he and I have kind of connected quite a while ago on like mutual following, and then he
Mm.
was like, "Oh yeah, it's my cousin," and then we got kind of connected that way. And then he's somehow been on. So Darth Veritas has somehow been on this 3 times, no more than anybody else. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
he just kind of blew, and his content right now is absolutely killing it because he's doing very much like response to questions, and people are asking really obscure questions, and he's finding an answer to it. So it's
exactly that I have an entirely new level of respect for, because from someone who started reading into is a greater thing. Finding specific answers for things, you have to read a lot of stuff. Like I've read, I want to say about 40 books now, 30, 40 books ish. I still couldn't answer half the questions that I occasionally see these people responding to. I'm like, how you have, because I get to listen to audiobooks at work, so I can crack out like Fallen Star, which is one of the newer High Republic books. I cracked that out in like 2 days, and I'm still behind. Like some people just, I don't know how they can sit down and power through like 4 books a week, 5 books a week, just through reading. I don't. It's an entirely new dedication to like a format that I've never seen before. Like it's insane.
And people are so, I mean, I suppose they always were, but more so now than ever. People are so invested in books, and audiobooks have really changed the game with
exactly.
that.
Like,
and I need
my
to
Audible,
do it,
my Audible library is, I think it's 50 something now, because I just go through and I'm like, that's one, that looks cool, I'll get that. I listen, and the Star Wars ones especially, they have music and sound effects during the book, which is incredibly impressive. So like if they're flying an X-wing, you can hear like the kind of noise in the background. If they're shooting, you can hear that. Like it's really impressive. And it's so immersive, and it's a lot easier to just like sitting down and reading the book, which you can occasionally get through like kind of dry patches in reading where you're reading it and you're like and put the book down, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it's a different way of doing it, isn't it? Like I quite often, like it's almost like podcast content, isn't it? Like
exactly.
You listen to it quite passively. You can have it on whilst you're working, you're studying, you're cleaning the house or something. You know, you can have it on whilst you do. And that I haven't gone down an audiobook route, but I should do that. And exactly
it's definitely worth it if you've got any like books you want to start getting into. Like Audible has a thing you can spend, I think it's £16, and you get 3 credits, so that's 3 books for 16 quid. And considering how much audiobooks usually cost, which is about 10, 12 quid, like it is a lot cheaper. You have to obviously have the £8 a month subscription as well, but if when you add it all up, it's actually quite cost effective. It's surprisingly cost effective.
Well, I mean, it must be because of the amount of people that have jumped on it.
Exactly.
How long would it typically take? So give me an example of an audiobook compared to if they're doing it, like how long would it be compared to if you were to read the book?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because the funny thing with the audiobooks is how they read it. And because you can modify the speed, I typically listen to it about 1.6 times speed. But the thing with reading like an actual book, sometimes I misread things. I fumble what I'm reading, so I go back. But like with an audiobook, you can just quickly tap rewind, listen to it. Like I think the most recent one I redid was the first book of Thrawn's Ascendancy trilogy, and that took, I think,
is this the canon trilogy?
9. It's yes. Ascendancy is canon. It's set. It's basically about Thrawn's the Chiss people in the Unknown Regions. It's amazing trilogy. But like that was 9-10 hours ish, because at work I just put on an audiobook during my shift. I'm just doing things while I'm working, and occasionally I'll have to rewind, because if you've seen Thrawn in Rebels, you know exactly that his thought processes are not easy to follow sometimes. So but you can it's about, typically I'd say about 9-10 hours, which you could probably read a book in. But the thing is, if you're reading the book, you have to be 100% focused on the book, and finding time of like 10 hours where you can just sit and read is quite difficult, as opposed to like listening to something, because I could be walking, you could be driving and have it playing in your car, you could be working out, you could be doing pretty much anything, but with an actual book you have to just sit and kind of read, which is a lot different.
And when you are a content creator, like that what I find is the time that I would spend reading is spent making content or thinking about content, or
Exactly. So
it's just
for me, it helps that I can do it at work, because I get back from work, I've just finished a book, I can then just talk about it. I can do a video after my shift and talk about it, which makes it a lot easier. And I think, honestly, if I didn't have that, like, I have books that aren't available as an audiobook format. So Most Wanted, which is a story about Han and Kira from just before it leads up to the time we see them in Solo, because that's not got an audiobook, that will take me ages. That'll take me like a week or maybe 2 weeks to get through, because I'm reading like a chapter before I go to bed, and like it's a lot more time. It takes a lot more time to get like through it, if you get what I mean.
Do you it's a difficult question, I get, but do you have a favorite book from an informative perspective, from like a lore perspective? Is there a particular book? Because what I think is, and this is where like Star Wars TikTok gets very heated, is a lot of people have their vision of the Star Wars universe based on the media that they've consumed. And for 80-90% of people, that is consumed through like live action animation.
Exactly.
But there is a lot of lore that comes through comic books and the comics.
Yes. Yeah. Really, it depends what aspect. So I would probably say the Ascendancy books, simply because, well, it depends on the aspect. Like the High Republic is very good at focusing on the early ages of the Jedi. I'd say in terms of the Sith, it's Legends, so it's not canon, but Path of just the Bane trilogy is excellent. Again, you have to consider it's not canon, but it is very informative. I would say also, the High Republic, the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, and in terms of what happens after Return of the Jedi, the Aftermath books are incredibly good, which follows a group of people basically, and it actually not Aftermath, Lost Stars. It's a romance novel, but somehow is one of the most informative books about perspectives I've ever read. Like so it's about, I think, Thane and Sienna, and they're both on different sides. They grow apart, and they're lovers, and they're on either sides of the conflict. So you get both great perspectives on what the Imperials thought about the destruction of Alderaan, what the Rebels thought about the destruction of Alderaan. Like, you get the conflicts of interest, and it's really interesting. So I would say Lost Stars is probably the biggest eye opener in that respect. But again, it really does just depend. It's a bit of a funny question in terms of specifics, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it comes down to what part of lore you're into, because I know that I've heard a lot of people speak of even just like the novelization of the movies, because it brings to life, it offers so much more context.
Yes.
Which is typically true of pretty much anything. You read Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
It's so much deeper. You read Harry Potter, you get so much more than the
much.
movies.
Exactly that. The Revenge of the Sith novelization is excellent. It adds
Wasn't that decanonized though?
It is decanonized, yes.
Yeah.
Why
it's
is very
that,
good.
Do you know?
So the way, this is my extent of knowledge on it. Before Disney bought Lucasfilm, any of that extra content that was not directly involved with George Lucas did not consider part of his universe, hence what the extended universe is. But Lucasfilm didn't really market that properly because they wanted to make money. So essentially they released all these books without, I think, saying specifically these are not canon. And since, a lot of people have obviously gotten angry, saying, "Oh, you've ruined my childhood, you've taken these books out of canon." When there's quotes from people like Dave Filoni. He's worked with George Lucas, he knows him quite well. Lucas has talked to him about Star Wars, has been quoted on saying, no, he did not consider them canon. They were not canon. People are still convinced they were, but it's basically just marketing, I think, was the problem there. But it's a funny one. But the Revenge of the Sith novelization adds an entire new degree of content onto Revenge of the Sith. Obviously, it's not canon, but it adds things that were. It's good that it isn't, because it adds things that are great, but it also adds things that I don't like. So it counterbalances, essentially. So like Dooku in this book is just well, he's a human supremacist who hates droids and any other aliens. which takes a. I didn't kind of like. I quite like the
Considering
other
it
part of
commands
canon.
the droid
Yes.
army.
Yeah, it's a bit hypocritical. Because he talks about Anakin's robotic arm and goes, "Ugh, it disgusts me." And Sidious is like, "Well, he just kind of cut it off." And he goes, "Well, a real gentleman would fight one-handed," which I can imagine Christopher Lee saying, and is cool.
Yeah.
But like, it's something I'm not particularly fond of.
Interesting. No, it's I honestly I do need to read more books, and I'm always intrigued when I speak to someone who reads the books and get their take on them. I speak to Henry Calvert quite often, and Henry's a big advocate of the books, and he's more comic books, but I know he does read some of the books as well.
The comics are also excellent. I find it like comics again. I can find a bit difficult to get through. There are certain runs I recommend for certain things, like the Vader comic run. Is very good. It's very, very good. But other than that, I haven't really read many comics. I've kind of read like the main iconic ones. I read War of the Bounty Hunters, which is focusing around what happened on Han Solo. That one is good. And adds a lot to
see, I'm not
Kira.
I am reading it, but I'm not enjoying it as much as this because it's obviously intertwined with the Star Wars and Dr. Aphra, and like it's sometimes hard to follow, especially retrospectively. But
exactly,
I'm not enjoying that as much as the original Star Wars run that starts at the end of A New Hope. I felt that was more succinct.
I think
it knew what it was doing.
I've read bits of that. I've not read all of it. There's I think I've read the just after Empire Strikes Back part, leading up to War of the Bounty Hunters. I don't think I've done any post A New Hope stuff. I think I did the one where he's tracking the Millennium Falcon. Although I don't know where that is. That might be Empire.
I think that is after Empire. Yeah.
Actually, no, it won't be. It'll be A New Hope because Han's there. Han's and Carbon are after Empire.
Okay. Yeah.
That's me being thick. So yeah, I think it was the After New Hope version, but who knows? But I get lost in this timeline.
And it's what it's really good for is it really adapts Luke. It really kind of adds weight. And what's interesting is from a kind of a modern view on I wouldn't say modern, but a reoccurring theme that we quite often see on the sequels is like all of the how does Rey know this, how does Rey know that and stuff, but nobody applies that to Luke. But actually
that is exactly my point. We see Anakin age 9 fly a N1 starfighter. He's never touched a starfighter before, blows up a Lucahulk. Luke with no explanation faces Darth Vader with no lightsaber training and does well. And again, I have no problems with these things, but people just selectively apply their logic when it's something they don't like, and it winds me up to no degree. It's the same with like Rey's last name. I still get comments about that.
It's
I apply that to half the things. Doesn't work.
No, it's just people just. I feel like people just do it as it's like a meme now rather than anything else, and you just like
that and the kooky quirky. I'm trying to be different kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
I don't follow the agenda of Disney. No.
Yeah, I'll just follow. I'll just listen to Star Wars Theory instead.
Exactly.
But yeah. What be interesting, and I've made this point before. So, interestingly, what was so you said your prequels ranking was what kind of boosted you. What is your prequels ranking?
It was, so I think Phantom Menace I gave a 7 out of 10 because Phantom Menace was just the most hated on film. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave Attack of the Clones a 4. Granted, I take that back slightly. I read the Padme books by E.K. Johnston. they are a really good eye opener into Padme's character as a whole.
Mhm.
If you're looking for specifics, I'm not amazingly good at wording it. I have a mutual, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I think it's Breequel Wookie, something like that. She is amazing at like breaking down the Padme books, but it is really good at like exploring your knowledge on Padme and why she's doing what she's doing in Attack of the Clones. Because I always had a problem with the dialogue, and I went, actually, would I be much better? Probably not. So I'll let it slide. And then Revenge of the Sith, I gave a 10. I'm the biggest Revenge of the Sith simp known to man. I admit there are problems. I don't care. I like it.
Well, that's kind of the point, though, isn't it? Like,
exactly.
It's like we all love and Star Wars is like the ultimate fandom for this. Like, we just love what we love. But
exactly.
We all love different things, and we all have them different attachments. Like, I love, like, my favorite prequel is The Phantom Menace. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
But it's not because, and I don't think it's the best. I just look at it and think, well, it's like
exactly. It's the same. Same goes for me with like Revenge of the Sith or Solo. Solo as well. Incredibly slept on movie. I loved it. Yeah. I rewatched it after doing the novelization. I watched it with a mate that's not watched it before. I kind of said before going into it, by the way, this is what, and I do it with him a lot because he's not really into Star Wars as much as I am, but he's like a kind of casual enjoyer. Yeah. So I go and ramble to him about my various dealings with idiots on the internet. And then I'm like, so this is what some people think. Let's watch it and see if you think that. And like I said, this is really, loads of people didn't like it because they thought it ruined this, and this. And then he comes out of it and I'm like, I didn't get a single one of those points watching that movie at all. I'm like, exactly. It's not that bad. It's actually very good. Like, Kira was amazing. Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany, hello.
Yeah.
It was awesome. He was so menacing. Like,
do you know the only thing I didn't like about Solo was that they basically referenced the death of Aura Singh without showing, because I love Aura Singh.
That is a very good point. It's Tobias Beckett, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it kicks that down an elevator shaft or something.
Yes,
like that, doesn't he?
It's something along the lines. I've got a feeling we're going to see it in something, because this is the thing they like to do. Yes, Bad Batch, I reckon. Because this is the thing they like to do. They reference these things. They wait just long enough for you to forget about it, and then they'll make more stuff. Although I can't help but feel that we would have probably gotten more from Solo had it have been received better. I think we could have seen Maul and Kira live action, or like more. And the main thing I really like about that, and this is something that most people don't realize, it's voiced by Sam Witwer, but it is Ray Park. They got both of the Darth Mauls. So they got the Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace and the Darth Maul from like the Clone Wars, and they merged it together. And it's like, yeah, it's something I didn't realize. And I listened to the voice. I'm like, that's Sam Witwer, but I can tell that does not look like Sam Witwer because it does not look like Starkiller. So what's going on there? And I looked it up. It's Ray Park, but they've overdone his voice with Sam Witwer, which is a really cool little detail that I never noticed.
It is.
And like I love those little things as well. They're so interesting.
Yeah, and do you know, with Solo, I think looking back, it probably came just a bit too early in that whole, because it's more connected, even though it isn't actually connected now, and we thought it was going to be. But like the Book of Boba Fett, the whole crime lord, and then you've got War of the Bounty Hunters, which is all very crime lord.
It furthers it.
But Solo was just too soon without anything to pick up the story and run with it.
Yes,
I think,
and I can't help but feel like Solo would have been received better had it have not just come out after The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
because that had a very bad reception. I disagree with about 90% of the points against that film, but that's besides the point. I feel like if that was released later on, it would have been received a lot better. Have you read, I forgot the name of the comic run. It's set after War of the Bounty Hunters. It's called something Crimson Dawn.
No, I know which one you mean, but I'm not there yet because I'm still. Yeah. So where am I in War of the Bounty Hunters? I'm up to.
It's a weird timeline for that series.
It's just all over. Like if you if you don't follow the reading list properly,
Oh,
you're like,
I really
why is
didn't
that
like how they
character turned
structured it.
up? Yeah, it's just like, oh, why? Like, so for example, when Crimson Dawn hosts the auction for Han in Carbide,
Yes.
and then like Dr. Aphra turned up, and I was like, why is Dr. Aphra here? But then I
Why
hadn't
are
read
you
the
here?
Dr. Aphra, and then like, but
Exactly.
I don't think I'd read the Star Wars comic, so it was like, well, why is
Mm,
Leia here, and why is Luke coming in on an X-wing?
yeah.
And then I went back and read that, and I was like, oh well, that's why. So
It's incredibly difficult to follow. That was one of the things. Like I remember, I just had a thought one night. I've just rewatched Solo. I want to read War of the Bounty Hunters because I know Kira's in it.
mm,
And I kind of messaged people going, "Hey, how do I read this?" And they send me this list, and it's like, "All right, you want to read Vader 15,
yeah.
Star Wars 12, Doctor Aphra 12?" And I'm like, "What? Sorry." Could you not have
How do
just done one
you
run?
how do you read your comics? Do you read the
um,
physical books or do you use Marvel
Marvel
Unlimited?
Unlimited.
Yeah.
It's the
So
subscription thing.
I use
Yeah,
that, but
it's
it
so
doesn't
much
help.
easier.
No, but it doesn't
No,
help
it
though.
doesn't.
So
It
so
really doesn't.
it's good, like it's brilliant, like totally worth its money, but
Yes.
it doesn't put things like it doesn't see it like you should. So it tells you because it shows you the back page of like the Vader comic, the equivalent one, but then it doesn't see like it'll tell you go and read the Star Wars comic, but why does it not
Mm.
link that Star Wars comic and why does it not create the reading list
Mm,
for you so you can
Yeah, and and a half the time they leave that one on a cliffhanger and don't pick that cliffhanger up for like another 3 issues. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, it's not difficult. Link it properly. Come on.
yeah.
And a
It's
lot of the stuff is like not exactly relevant as well. So some of the stuff with Zuckuss and Forlom is
mhm,
cool and cool to know, not really relevant to War of the Bounty Hunters. It's an
yeah.
independent thing, which I'm not complaining about. But did it really need to be on the list of stuff in the War of the Bounty Hunters run? I feel like it could have been like its side thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I skimmed through those pretty quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't I think the coolest part was when they tried to take Boba out. But I think that
Mm,
happens in the War of the Bounty Hunters run rather than
yes.
their run,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
There's a scrap between Boba and Bosk, I think, at some point as well. That's
Yes, that's
interesting.
just before, isn't it? Where he takes
Yes.
Bosk's legs off and just leaves
Yes.
him.
Yeah. And he's
It's
like,
like
they'll
it's just
grow back.
business. Yeah.
Also, thinking about that, when Book of Boba came out, you had like a
Mhm.
group of people saying, "This is a Disney ruined Boba Fett." Disney made that comic run of when he
Yeah.
cut off Boba's legs and walked away and said, "It's business, mate. Deal with it."
But
What?
this is exactly the point, I think, is that a lot of people it's tough, and I get it because not everybody is into even reading comic books, but um
Exactly.
it, you to fully understand it now, you have to have that broader context. And I feel like some people miss out on it
Mm,
because they don't follow it. The
exactly.
prime example for me would be so it's very generational, but I think that the reason your generation is so drawn to the prequels is because of the Clone Wars series, because the Clone Wars series
No,
really
you're
rounds
100% right.
off. It just creates a whole other Anakin. It gives him so
Exactly.
much more
Like
context. But
I remember when I don't remember much about them coming out. I do. Well, I can somewhat tell what happened because I talked to my mum now. I'm like, "Mum, do you want to watch Revenge of the Sith?" She went, "No, it's awful. I'm not watching that film. It's a horrible film." I'm like, "Oh, never mind then." And I've talked to I've got a few mutuals that are, I think, well, a lot older than me. And they've said, "Oh yeah, when that film came out, there are people saying, oh yeah, that's not my Darth Vader." The same thing, if you noticed, that happened in The Last Jedi.
well,
Saying that's not my Darth Vader. They ruined it. They
mhm,
destroyed my childhood. That there was a guy that made a song saying George Lucas raped my childhood. There was a music video. A guy
yeah,
posted that, and I'm like, People versus George Lucas. It's a documentary about it.
mhm,
Like I think
seen it.
Choco
Yeah,
Choco did a watch along of it ages ago,
yeah.
and I watched that. I'm like, my God, people really just
Mm.
uh,
It's
baffles me.
it's
It
a yeah.
baffles me.
100% it's hilarious. But what I do think though is because I think with the
Mm,
originals were the originals. So with the originals, we didn't know what we didn't know. So they were able to self-exist. And
exactly.
people had kind of made their minds up, and when we then got the added lore from the prequels and the Clone Wars and then everything else that's come since, nobody really
Exactly.
cared. Nobody went, like, you almost realize stuff, and then nobody went back looking for plot holes. But
Yes, exactly.
everything,
There are a lot in the
everything-
originals.
well, endless. So my biggest plot hole from the originals is I don't know why I'm giving it sass. Like, I don't know why I'm doing all this, but so
Yeah.
I've never understood how, particularly Boba Fett, didn't point out that Lando Calrissian was in Jabba's palace. Because
Exactly.
at the time, there was like one black guy in the whole galaxy, right? So straight away he would have stood out a little bit. Probably more
you
than
would have
some of
thought
the
he
aliens.
could spot him. Yeah, exactly. There was also the bit where Luke tells Leia that his sister, what do you remember about our mother? Oh, she was very beautiful. Wait a minute, didn't you only just come out of the
Yeah.
womb and then she died? And
Yeah,
that
exactly.
exactly. Luke and Leia kissing, and then the next movie they're siblings.
Yeah. Well, another one. Why do you hide a child and give him his surname? Like, why? Like,
yes.
Why not call him Lars? Why not just let him be called Lars instead of keeping the Skywalker name? Like,
no, I think they've kind of answered this now, but this is the thing. It's lingering questions that they've just not touched. There's that, and how the hell can Luke fly? He's like he said, bullseyed one perhaps with my T-16. We never found out what a T-16 was in that movie. Turns out it's a Skyhopper.
Yeah, I thought it was a sniper rifle for like 20 years.
I thought that's exactly the same thing here. And then we have the scene with Biggs Darklighter in on Yavin 4, and he's like, Luke is the best pilot in the galaxy, in the Outer Rim. I'm like,
yeah.
Where have we seen him fly? And then you cut to seeing The Force Awakens. God forbid, Rey does one maneuver, defeats 3 TIEs. Oh my God, what a Mary Sue. How does she fly like that? I'm like, she blew up 3 TIEs. It's not impressive.
Yeah, the TIEs aren't particularly. Although I do you know, I think what didn't help that more generally is I think in Rebels, when we see actually the training, and even we see it in Solo a little bit, like the TIE pilots are meant to be like the elite. When you feel TIE training, you fall into the military.
Now I know a little bit more about this because I've read into some of these kind of squadron-esque, like Alphabet Squadron. So the thing with the TIE fighter is, whilst it's an amazing ship, they did not have any shields. They had no hyperdrive. They weren't even that. The weaponry on them wasn't that strong. So if you hit it, you would be hitting the hull. So that's when Thrawn introduces TIE Defender. That's why it was so good, because it had everything that the Rebellion had as standard, and then had overkill. Like, I think it was apparently it's considered both a fighter class and a bomber class because it packs that much of a punch. So that added like a really big edge. But with the TIE fighters, like, the pilots were incredibly well trained, yes, but you had to be to fire a TIE fighter. So that's why we see so many destroyed, is because one mistake and it ruins it. Whereas like in these kind of more reinforced ships, one mistake and it's fine, it hit the shields, you'll be fine. That in a TIE fighter, something hit you, you're dead. Sorry.
Well, this totally makes sense. So like
exactly.
this helps. See.
Yeah.
But this is kind of my point, is with the sequels is I think right now all they're lacking, and time is everything, is just that additional, because I think movies now really struggle to deliver context, lore, and especially when we look at Marvel, we look at like Star Wars, like they require, whether it's a TV series, a comic run, but they're shying away from it.
That's the thing. That's like one of the problems I have with content now, especially the MCU. I have like a mate. I'm like, oh, do you want to watch this MCU film? I was like, do I have to watch like 12 other movies to get it? I'm like, oh, good point. Like everything is so interconnected, and that's why I think independent projects nowadays, like Daredevil, when that came out, which was loosely related to like the MCU, and we've got the Batman, which isn't directly related to a massive cinematic universe. I like these independent things. And obviously when you have these massive tie-ins to like incredibly large universes, you're gonna have some inconsistencies. And that's the thing, like, people don't understand, like, especially when I did a video the other day talking about the inconsistencies in the originals, because I had like a comment going, oh, do you think that Luke's Leia saying that because she saw Padme before, is that a plot hole? I'm like, no, it's just an inconsistency, because you have a line in Return of the Jedi where Vader goes, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, Luke. He didn't. I've watched Revenge of the Sith. He didn't. He was quite adamant at killing him.
We might get it in the Kenobi show.
We might get it in the Kenobi show.
We might.
And
because
that's
that's my thing, is I never bought the whole last time we met. You were the master and all of that, and I think it was Darth Choco who did a thing that said, well, actually, he's a and when they did last meet, or when they potentially are going to meet in the Kenobi show, he is still essentially a Sith apprentice, and he is not he is not a Sith Lord at that point.
No, he's not.
Really helps.
Yeah, like that's another thing. People will take these things and go, this is a fact. I'm like, no, it's open-ended, and you can tell that by looking at it. I'm like, no, it isn't. It is. Read it again. Like, it's a lot more open-ended than people think, I think, on these kind of things, because they had to be open-ended. And I've seen people saying that, George Lucas had the Clone Wars planned since 1980. No, he named the Clone Wars in the 80s. He did not plan them.
Well, it was the 70s, because it was New Hope.
The New Hope was was that 75?
79.
79.
77.
Yeah, because it was
77, 79, 81. I'm sure. Is that right?
It was like there were 3-year gaps between them.
Yes.
They had quite large gaps when I wouldn't have been able to tolerate that. I have like a 1-year gap. I'm like, that's too much.
Yeah, 83, 77, 79, 83. Because I'm sure next year's 40 years of Return of the Jedi. I'm sure that's right.
Yes, and hopefully that means we get a From a Certain Point of View book, because they are cool and I like them. The scene in A New Hope where Obi-Wan's like, it's too dangerous, Luke, and he goes back to Beru and Lars, the Beru and Lars homestead. That moment, Obi-Wan is actually communing with Qui-Gon in the Force. That interlude. There's an entire chapter of them communicating over the Force. It is so cool. Like, and I can't wait to get those extra perspectives. Like, it's background characters getting extra stuff, and it's so cool to see. Like, yeah, it's amazing, and I hope they do the same thing with Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I've never read them, but they really, really intrigue me. Because isn't there one for A New Hope where it shows you the like perspective of the stormtroopers on the Death Star or something like that?
Yes.
I love that, because I would love to see the stormtroopers brought to life a little bit more, humanized, which they are doing pretty well in the Mandoverse, but obviously they're dying out. So like,
there's a really heartbreaking story. Do you mind spoilers about it, or would you?
No, go for it. No.
Okay.
I think I've heard it, so go for it.
You know the guy on the tower that's tracking the ship in with his little gun. So turns out, prior to the events of A New Hope, he had to send his little girl away basically the entire chapter is him making a video that he's sending with her going, I'm fighting in the resistance. Your mother died, but I'm trying to fight for a better life for you. And it's really sad. It's really emotional. And at the end, he kind of takes her away and is like, oh, she'll be safe on Alderaan. I'm like, oh no! Come on, you could have sent her to Chandrilla, not why Alderaan.
Anywhere else.
It was heartbreaking reading that, because you get through and it's like you get to the end of the video message, just like, oh, that's so wholesome. They're gonna get a really cute, nice reunion at the end, which will time flash to after attack. No, she's dead. The baby's dead. For God's sake. Not fun, not happy. When is Star Wars ever not depressing?
Well, this is true. When it's at its finest. On the sequels, though, so I think, if anything, they really could benefit from just a bit of expanded content.
Exactly.
But how would, and I think all of them have benefited from that. That's not to say they need them to come in and fix it. It's just to really round off that story.
Yes.
Because we have Resistance. Have you watched Resistance? I've never
I've
watched
not,
it yet.
but I've actually heard really good things. I've heard that
Okay.
the first like 8 episodes are set up, and the rest of it is actually quite good.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't know much. I never really watched it because it's kind of like it was very much hated on and called like
Mhm.
kiddie and blah blah blah, which is pretty much
The
the same thing.
animation is. I suppose the
It's
animation always just looks
it
different.
always
So
gets it
yeah,
like Rebels still gets it to this day. I love
yeah.
Rebels animation,
No, I do.
especially
Yeah.
you know how Yoda looks in it.
Yes,
And actually, when you look at it, it's quite accurate to Empire
he
Strikes
looks more.
Back. And
Yeah, he looks more
when you
like
look at
actual Yoda.
exactly, and when you look at Clone Wars, his head's just a rugby ball with with Yoda texturing. Like it's very inaccurate, I guess. But the animation is just something that's always different between
Yeah.
things. But from what I've heard, Resistance is actually a really good watch. I don't think it expands too much. But I think especially in the books currently, I think they're building a lot in the gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So I think they're going to gradually build up. I think it's going to be quite difficult for them to do any sequel trilogy content because of how these films were received. Like a lot of people have just been like Kelly Marie Tran, who plays Rose Tico. She got bullied off of her own social media account from Star Wars fans, just having a go at her because they didn't like her character. I think the same happened to Daisy Ridley as well. So when you have that kind of perception around this trilogy, and then they're like, "We'll make more of it," it's difficult.
I totally get that. It wouldn't be fair to anybody who they
No.
like, to the individuals that they link to that content.
Yes.
To create it, but yeah, it's
Mm.
a funny one. That I think the comic books would be a great way to.
Yeah, they're doing a comic adaptation of The Rise of Skywalker that's coming out at some point.
Okay.
Because the novelization, which I have read, they tend to do like expanded editions. So they've done that for Solo. I don't know if they've done one for Rogue One. They've done one for Last Jedi. They've done one for Rise of
Yes.
Skywalker, and I think there's extra bits of dialogue in there. So especially the ending, the Rey Skywalker bit. There's a little bit of dialogue where Luke goes to Rey, going, "It's yours, Rey. Take it." And I think had that have been in the film, a lot of this would be removed, and it is still technically canon, but it just wasn't shown in the film. So I'm hoping we'll get that in the comic.
Because isn't there something in the novelization whereby Leia tells her to take the name, and there's a lot more dialogue between them, as essentially she sees her as her adopted daughter, and
there's a bit in the book where she says her Organa legacy would go to Poe, her Skywalker legacy would go to Rey, and her she would try one last time to give her Solo legacy back to her son Ben. And I think a lot of the things with Rise of Skywalker that was limiting was the unfortunate timing of Carrie Fisher's passing. I think had that not have been timed as it was, we could have gotten more, because I think they did just reuse footage of her from Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I want to say.
Right.
And taking that into consideration, they did a very good job. But I think it did limit what they could do with Leia in this film, which is a shame.
No, it is. It is, especially when, I mean, Carrie Fisher had her problems and issues for years, and they got so close. Like, it really was a shame. Obviously, just for more reason than the tragic loss of her. But yeah, it's an odd one. So this is not kind of me asking in a way that points at any particular one, but one of the biggest things that people draw upon with the sequels is the journey that it goes from like JJ into Ryan and then back into JJ, and that creates inconsistencies. So the question I would ask you then on that is, if they were to kind of like the sequels didn't exist, They were going to make the sequels, but it was the same sequels. So that we're not talking about like changing the story. But what you would see is like, okay, JJ makes the trilogy himself, or Ryan makes the trilogy himself, but they have got creative control over the full trilogy rather than the which side of that sequel would you like to see? Because I think there'd be very different sequel. There'd be very different films whilst telling the same film.
Exactly. I completely agree. So the thing is, I have with the Last Jedi is the middle ground. I love the Last Jedi. I watched it. There are things, of course, I dislike about it. It's the same with every Star Wars film, and I think the main thing was that screwed up for the Rise of Skywalker is how they left it. It didn't seem like, because they killed off Snoke, and I don't have a problem with them killing off Snoke, but when you then watch Rise of Skywalker, it feels like they're kind of just pulling Palpatine out the bag, going, "Hey, we lost the main guy, so here's Palpatine." But I think had JJ maybe done the entire trilogy, I think that moment, Palpatine's return, could have been built up properly. Though I've seen like a little edit, where Rey has that mirror scene where she's like puts her hand on the mirror and then it leads back. There's an edit of it, and it goes back, and then the last thing is a hooded figure, and you hear like a little echoed laugh. That would have been cool if they included that in the thing and then foreshadowed it, but they didn't. But they are doing that a lot in the books. So in Aftermath, and it really, it's another thing. It does make his return does make sense. Do I think they could have executed better? 100%. Because keep in mind, this guy orchestrated an entire war to get himself into a seat of political power. Are you really telling me that he underestimated Vader and that's why he fell? Like, because if so, I think that takes away a fair bit from Palpatine.
And when you read the comics, everything that he's doing is about being ready for Vader.
Contingencies.
Everything is like Vader failing or Vader turning. Like everything's about like one of those, and constantly testing, challenging Vader. So I totally get it. I think the way then this is why I don't ask the question of like, if you were to remake the sequels from scratch, what would they be? Because I think there is merit in what they try to make, but I think the execution, and particularly between those, like what made it difficult is I remember coming out The Force Awakens and thinking, you know what, that was all right. I'm looking forward to the next film. I remember coming out of the Last Jedi and thinking, all right, okay, this is like getting really interesting now. Interested to go and see it. And then I remember seeing 9 and I was like, The Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, what? I don't understand. Like I was just blown, and I think the Rise of Skywalker takes away from The Last Jedi, and it's.
I can fully understand that point. I think there are things. This is the thing. I think Ryan very much made it as it felt more independent.
Yeah,
and I love that, but it doesn't fit in, which is its problem. I'm just reading a bit. So,
but if Ryan Johnson had made the full trilogy. Like that would be my pick. Like I would love to have seen that trilogy, because I feel like he really tried. He tried to draw on something that, like I love lore. I love that. Like talking about Batman, I love that slow burn. He almost tried to bring stuff in. Whereas,
of course.
I don't know. I just feel like he would have told that story.
I feel like Luke could have been portrayed better. I liked his journey in The Last Jedi. I feel like that could have been better portrayed and explained over 2 films, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around it, and I think that is simply because of the limitations of having it to 1 movie. And that would have been great to have kind of give Ryan more time. I was just reading a bit of the chat here. Never thought too much. I would disagree with that. Personally, I think they do focus a lot on cinematography, but I think they focus more on character, individual things, and plot more than you would think. I personally, I can see where you're coming from, but I disagree. I think having given Luke more time, I think that would have redeemed him a lot more in other people's eyes, if you see what I mean. Because the thing I like about it is at the end we have because it's very much like at the beginning, it's of the sequels, is the legend of Luke Skywalker,
Yeah.
And it's like and you get that contrast of I'm not just gonna the contrast of how am I gonna I'm not gonna do you really think I'm just gonna walk out in front of the entire First Order with a laser sword and just defeat them? And that is exactly what he tries to do at the end of that film. And I think that really just shows how cool he is by the end of that movie. And I love it. Like
So
the contrast is excellent. It's excellent.
So I love Luke in that film. Luke
Yes.
is like one of the like I even like Admiral Holdo. Like I know that is like
yes. Yeah.
I
She's
love
got
that. Just
I think
like
her and Leia had a bit more stuff in the Leia books, I think.
Right.
Like there's actually a really good bond there. And it's a shame that wasn't really explored. I feel like if Holdo was introduced in The Force Awakens, that could have been like more interesting.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, I just think like that's one of the key things I like about it. I like it more it makes sense than anything else. But yeah, it's those things that I really like, but I do really like Luke in that. But it took me some time and watching people like Choco and people talking about it, explain
exactly
like that's what's going on. So
I feel that the problem is a lot of you get these incredibly big creators. I'm not naming them because I don't want to draw any attention on that. But that say they did it wrong. This is the right way to do it. And then because they've got such that amazingly big following, they get all their followers to go and harass people saying, no, they've done it wrong. And a certain content creator posted a thing about J.J. Abrams on their story about a story decision and how he was doing everything with Star Wars wrong. And if you look at J.J. Abrams' comment section on his recent Instagram posts, it is not very friendly. It is not very friendly at all. So I think... And whilst I completely respect people's own opinions to take away what they want from this film, because obviously I'm not here to say I'm right. I'm just here to explain what I like about it and my interpretation. And if you didn't like it, fair enough. Like that's your own take from it. But I feel like the problem is it kind of just becomes an echo chamber where the loudest voice just becomes 100%. Everyone's voice. Rather than like
100% agree with that. And I have no qualms with anybody having their opinion, but I think a lot of the time like nobody has to like or dislike anything, but I think a lot of people don't realize they're being influenced. I think that's the thing.
Exactly my point. I remember sorry, you go ahead.
I was just going to say it's very true in the Lego community as well. We see a lot of people who they'll like a new set will come out and then their opinions will reflect what a big kind of creator has kind of put out there, or their favorite set of all time is before last year was like the gunship because everybody wanted the gunship. But why is the gunship? It's because it's their favorite and they talk about it and we need more clones and all that. So it's just, but I think, it's that thing where, especially when you look at the age dynamic, it's that age range that people are
exactly
and more influenced. But yeah, and I don't think then the responsibility is on the people being influenced, especially in that age bracket. I think it's more on the creator to check to recognize their influence. But at the same time, I do also think they know their influence. They know that this creates views, it creates controversy, which ultimately pays their bills. So
certain big creators have even said, I know I don't tell them to do these things, so it's not my problem. I'm like, whilst you're right, you can't control what your followers are saying. You should still, if they're doing acting like that, you should still probably say something, rather than just saying it's out of my control, not my problem. But it's a weird thing.
Yeah, indeed. Change your pace here. Let's have some fun. So chat, open this up to you as well. Some of you may have answered here already, but in the video that I posted on TikTok before went live about 4:00 was a stitch to one of your videos saying if we were to get more content of a specific character, like who's an underrated character we would like to see more of, who would you like that to be? So I have my answer, you have yours, but I put it on my Instagram story and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 answers there. And obviously anybody in the chat. So let us know who you would like to see. And then why you would like to see more of that character, but also like because you have the luxury of the chat, so you can kind of talk it out a little bit. Like what kind of content? Because we are blessed now. Would it be a movie? Would it be a TV show? Would it be an animation? Would it be a comic book? Would it be a book? From that one. But do you want to remind us who yours was and why?
Yes, mine was. Oh God, who was mine?
I know who she is because she was from Solo, but I can't remember her name.
Kira. Was it Kira?
No, it was the girl who plays. She's in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series with like the
Enfys Nest.
Yes,
that's it.
I was never
Nest.
That name.
So the thing about good old Enfys Nest, like I read the Solo novelization, and at the end of that, what you actually find out what she's doing with that coaxium, and she's giving it to Saw Gerrera. That's what happens. She goes and meets Saw Gerrera, and actually you get this really cool little scene where Jin's on the ramp and they see like a 9-year-old Jin, which is quite wholesome. And then we don't know what happens to Enfys Nest from that point, and she seems like such an interesting character. She gives off similar to kind of Phasma vibes in terms of, I don't know if you've probably not read her book. I
haven't, no, but I do want to read that.
Very, very good book. I managed to get my copy. Mild side rant. I got this copy off Amazon, 80p.
No way.
Hardcover, supposedly used, one little scuff on it, 80p. Absolute steal. Anyway, so we had that thing, and one of the Cloud Riders, I forget the name of the character, the background character, we see him in Rogue One, and I'm like, so I can assume what's happened. I want more. She seems so cool and interesting, and such especially in terms of the rebellion. And we get like one thing from her, and that's it. She could be so much more interesting, I feel. And
this goes back to my point from earlier. I think the Solo movie came too soon with everything else, and I feel like if they'd kept it for after Rise of Skywalker, and then like maybe after, between like after Mandalorian season 1 maybe, and then it all becomes part of this kind of criminal, totally different time period, but then starts the like all of that, it would have been far more well received. But I feel like when people were seeing Solo, what they wanted was more like Star Wars trilogy films rather than like a Star Wars story.
Like I have it in terms of they want the classic Star Wars for that. They want to basically see a New
Star
Hope
Wars.
Kind of Star Wars. Like my uncle, he likes the original. He doesn't like any other Star Wars content. He'll only watch the original trilogy because he just doesn't enjoy it. And I think that's what some people wanted for Solo, but that wasn't really ever the kind of point of Solo, a Star Wars story. But who was it that you think you want to see more of? I can't remember who said.
So James here commented on the video saying he thought it would be Ula. So Jabba's. But actually, he did say that, and I did think, like, actually, I probably would like to see that, like her OnlyFans or something. But, there's so many. So I think Bosk came to mind, but I don't think Bosk has his own thing. I think I was disappointed Bosk didn't make an appearance in the Book of Boba Fett, but that was against my own expectations. I don't hold that up. I actually share. So Harvey. Darth Walker, he commented this one. Actually, so did Don Massey. There's a couple of people commented this. Alexander Jeffrey, but mine is Qui-Gon. Now,
that is a good one.
But I know there's is it Master and Apprentice?
Master and Apprentice. Yeah. That is one. Yeah.
But one thing that other people have commented as well is Dooku. So I would love to have seen a young Dooku, a younger Dooku, and a young Qui-Gon. I would love to have seen more of that.
Dooku Jedi Lost is literally meets everything you said there. We get to see Dooku's origins. We get to see Sifo Dyas. We get to see young Qui-Gon. There's also his first Padawan, Rael Averross. We see more Ventress. We basically get everything you said here in this book. It is an audio drama primarily, so like the format of the book is a script essentially.
Okay.
But So if you get it on Audible, you get like a full, or like it's got a full cast that voice it. So it's kind of like a play, but like it's an audio drama.
Like the Archers.
It's really good. So like that definitely meets what you want there. Like it is really good. It also links into the High Republic as well. It's a great one, and it definitely, if you want more Dooku Jedi Lost is the thing for you. Like it's amazing.
I will definitely get on that. But yeah, I mean, Qui-Gon would have been like my pick, because Qui-Gon is my favorite. So Obi-Wan is my favorite character, but Qui-Gon is my favorite Jedi, if that makes sense, because like he's just so kind of true to the Force and all that. And obviously the reason that the Jedi have their demise is because they've lost sight of what
they've lost their way. Exactly
so,
that. I draw a lot of parallels with Kanan Jarrus as well, with Qui-Gon. Personally, I would think Kanan Jarrus is the ideal Jedi. Because whilst Qui-Gon has a lot of those great factors, he doesn't deal with attachment, but Kanan does, and we see that. And I think that is really just it's perfect on his part. Just seeing in the chat, someone mentioned I'm
just skimming through, so I'll go through them pretty quick, but feel like a mix like Jedi Plo. So yeah, I think I actually feel bad for Clone Wars prequel Jedi, because they are peripheral characters, but they're so strong characters.
Exactly that.
It would have been great to have that in like a 45-minute. I agree with this one. A Finn.
Exactly that. Finn would be good. I would like. I've seen like fan art of Finn as a Jedi. I would love to see that. You kind of get a little bit of it in the Lego Holiday Special, which isn't exactly related or canon, but it's cool. It's definitely cool, and seeing Finn explored would be awesome. Thrawn books, the books.
Well, I
don't want to say anything because I can see you just bought them.
We're getting Ahsoka.
I have so many things about that show.
Is it worth? Would you then recommend? Because we don't know exactly when we're getting Ahsoka, but would you say that you should really read? And I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I don't really care. But would you say, if you are wanting to read the books before we get to the Ahsoka series?
If you're really interested in Thrawn, definitely. So essentially we get two Thrawn trilogies. We get the first one, which is about his time in the Empire. The first book is basically his rise to the grand. At the end of the book, he starts off. We find out how he's enlisted into the Empire, and then we get what ends. So we get him becoming Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I don't know if you remember in Rebels, the first time we see him is like, "I've just come from my victory at Baton."
Yes.
That's the ending of the Thrawn book, essentially. Thrawn Ascendancy is a book between I don't know exactly when it's set, but it's a story of Vader and Thrawn, and then it flashbacks to a story with Vader, with Thrawn and Anakin in the Clone Wars.
Right, I know this story.
Good.
Yeah,
it's a very good story. And then Treason we get is. So it's that's I know exactly when that's said. That's just so Hera's just been captured in Rebels season 4, and then it's about the week gap of what Thrawn's doing, and it's all about a big kind of conspiracy in the Empire. Then we get the Ascendancy trilogy, which I can't say much about, because if I say one thing, because it is an entire it's its own thing. If I say one thing about it, it kind of like spoils everything. It is an amazing prequel to Thrawn. If you want to know about the Chiss, if you want to know about the Chiss Ascendancy, you find that all out in the Ascendancy trilogy, and they're phenomenal.
Are both trilogies canon, or is only one of them canon?
Yes, the all of the stuff that's Legends for Thrawn. So I've got one here. This is the Heir to the Empire, is one of the most notable books.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
If you're wondering, like in future, for anyone really watching this, Legends books usually have marked this little yellow thing along here that says Legends, part of the Essential Legends collection of such, and most of them, anything written prior to Disney's acquisition, so prior to 2000, I think it's 2012. Disney acquired. I can't fit that back in. I'll put that back in later. It's a paperback. They wiggle. But they usually stay on the book. But yeah, if you're a Thrawn fan, the books are definitely the place to go. They're amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right.
100%.
That's it. You've made my mind up. I do feel like I want to get Jedi Lost though, because I really enjoyed Dark
Yes.
Disciple. So
Yes, absolutely. Oh, have you read Dark Disciple?
yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I loved it to pieces.
Awesome. It just
Makes me hate
like
Dooku.
but it makes me love the character. So I said this. I did my Jedi list, and I put Plo Koon on there, and everybody's like, sorry, not Plo Koon, Pong Krell on there. But I can't believe you put Pong Krell on. But what I mean is, I love the character because nobody stirs people up like Pong Krell, but that's what he's meant to do. And obviously, that's what Dooku's meant to do. But I don't think Dooku really does it he certainly doesn't do it in the trilogy, the prequels. He does it in the Clone Wars, but he doesn't do it anywhere near as much as he does in Dark Disciple, because you really see the viciousness of him.
You see his intent and how twisted he is. It's phenomenal. I was just going to quickly answer the thing in the chat. Thrawn you can read as a standalone, but it does fit into the Thrawn trilogy. The first one doesn't feed together as a trilogy like the Ascendancy books does. You can read Thrawn. You can read any of them really as standalone books, but they are a trilogy in that respect. But so yeah, Thrawn's origins is basically Thrawn.
Yeah,
Max Rebo.
Yeah, well, I think he is alive because he just wasn't there, was he? Max Rebo has this amazing ability to just be in the water.
Have you seen the robot chicken of him?
No, I haven't.
I assume you've heard of Robot Chicken or Adult Swim. Yeah. And it's him walking like in his pants. It's like, what the hell, man? I got a gig, man. And he's trying to walk back this. It's amazing.
I've seen it. I know what you mean now. I've seen it as a TikTok. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Plo Koon more so, but definitely I think we got some great Kit Fisto stuff, but I think Kit Fisto is good as like a bit of a back, like an extra. But I think Plo Koon was so deep and interesting.
Yes, exactly.
And the story to tell is because he brings Ahsoka into the Jedi Order.
Yes, he does.
To tell that story would be a great way to
amazing.
Give more depth on him.
That and his entire sense of morality as well is fascinating. And the really sad thing as well. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say he's Qui-Gon-esque in that morality. Yeah,
exactly. And an extra little sad thing for you. On his gunship, where it's got this little picture of Plo Koon on it, written in Urabesh is Plo's bros.
Yeah.
And to make that extra depressing, the people that probably killed him in Order 66 hopped back into that gunship and flew away. So you can have that one. Oh, Lando series, we're getting one. That is a confirmed Disney Plus series.
But it's stalling though, isn't it? It's because they're struggling to get Donald Glover on board.
Yes, like I've got a mutual Star Wars lawyer, Chris. He loves Lando, and he's been very vocal about how irritated he is about the lack of information about it, because there is just nothing. Because Donald Glover is just such a busy man. Because he's got his music career. He's got his. I don't know if he still does his acting stuff. I know he was in Community. I've not watched Community, but I know he's in it. So he probably signed on to it at the time and then just realized, I'm booked up for the next 2 years. Yikes.
I wouldn't mind as well, but he was like, that was such a tough role to take on. But he did steal the show. Like, he was so good.
Absolutely. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it.
What else have we got? Dark Empire with the Eclipse class Star Destroyer would be
Dark Empire. That's a Legends thing. I think Dark Empire sounds Legends-esque.
Maybe
class Star Destroyer. I've not heard of that. If you're still watching, please do comment what the Dark Empire is, because I've not heard of it. It sounds like it's got something to do with Project Blackwing, but I don't know anything about that. That's the weird zombie stormtrooper things.
But here's the thing with things like Visions. Now, obviously, Visions is very different, and obviously, it was to really expand the on the. So yes, it is. But technically it was I suppose everything that isn't canon falls into Legends, but
I think so.
it's very different to other.
confusing.
It's almost like it's other. It's in its own category. But what the positive side of that for me was, it shows that Disney are open to expanding non-canon material.
Yes, exactly.
And a couple of the others that we have in here, so like Darth Nihilus. So Darth Nihilus, I believe, has never even been canonized in name, whereas we know with
No,
Bane,
Revan's got
Revan
his name in
have,
canon.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
From what I've heard, Nihilus is very much overrated, but he is interesting. The entire
it's
like
the Eater of Worlds or something, isn't he?
he didn't eat a world. This is the thing. There's a lot of misconceptions around him. I know Sawyerism on TikTok does a good job at explaining the stuff behind KOTOR, because I know bugger all about it. It's hard to follow. I played the first game and I've read Revan. That's about it. But I think he just sucks the life force out of people on the planet. Kind of like Vitiate.
Yeah,
it's weird. Legends is so weird.
It's like the most OP thing ever, and that's why
yes,
people
pretty
are
much.
like, yeah. I believe from what I've understood is he draws the life force out of the planet, whether it's the people, the wildlife, the force itself can be part of.
Yeah, it's things like this, and I wonder why people think Palpatine's return was so far-fetched when they read Legends. Because I read Legends, I'm like, he's just sucked the life out of a planet. How?
Yeah.
What?
Oh. Well, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just so General Grievous origin story, because it's weird, because when you've watched the Clone Wars, you just kind of like assume General Grievous. Like, there is no point where it's like, oh shit, like General Grievous, like who's that really scary 8-foot mechanical cyborg thing?
I mean,
it's just like they all know who he is, but then you're like, wait a second, like I know
we don't know anything about him. Yeah. I know he's got a background in Legends.
Yes,
I know that much. But I'll be honest, I don't like Grievous as much in canon as I do in. Have you seen the? I forget the name of the guy that made him. The original Clone Wars in 2002.
Yeah.
that is peak Grievous. But like in Clone Wars, he's very much like a coward, and he's not as interesting.
But I feel like he does match the Grievous we get in Revenge of the Sith, because
100%.
He flees
I totally agree. But it would be interesting. I think the best way to do that would be through a comic, but I don't think we're even going to get that at this point, because I feel like if they were going to do it, they would have done it by now. That being said, you can say that about a lot of things. So it's very possible we could get that still.
Well, Disney will know the worth of Revenge of the Sith. Next year's the anniversary, the 20 years. So it's not. It's 2025. Why am I saying that?
Yes.
Next year's Return of the Jedi for 40 years. Then
yes, and then I think when was Attack of the Clones? Was that 2002 or 2003?
This year.
Is it this year?
Okay. I think that's why a lot of people think we're getting, because we're getting like an ATTE and stuff like that in Lego, and everybody thinks, a lot of people are jumping on it thinking that it is Attack the Clone stuff, but they don't realize that it's all Bad Batch stuff, because like we got the ATTEs and stuff in there. So we'll see.
I would quite like to see some more. I want to see a new Lego Django Slave 1. I want that. I need that in my life.
I want a UCS. So this is my top UCS set. If the fantasy one, Django Fett, but make it exactly the same as the Boba one. All you're doing is changing the color scheme. And what I don't know is, did Boba make any like modifications? Nothing stands out. But if he did, they are reflected.
It changed the color scheme. See, it's confusing, because in the Clone Wars, I'm fairly sure we see the Slave One get blown up. I don't remember though.
No, it drops beyond the horizon.
It drops before, and then there's a big explosion. I think then they fix it up. It's a weird one. Yes. But yeah, no, that would be really good. I think. I'm all for Lego Slave One stuff. Like, you can't actually see. I have a Lego shelf. It is over there. I've got all the stuff's really over there and above my desk, so none of it's really in the camera view. But I've got like all the new Mando stuff. I also got the new wave stuff actually. I got this like last week, the Mando helmet, and I got the I don't want to break it, Luke Hallway scene thing. And I
still
love
don't have
them.
it, yeah.
I saw them on Amazon and I just got my paycheck and I went, screw it.
See, I cry when people say they buy stuff off Amazon because I'm like, you forget it. The lost VIP points.
The lost VIP points, I know.
Each purchase is so small, but
one day delivery. Actually, with the Luke Hallway, I got same day delivery. I ordered it at 3 a.m. and it came at like 7 p.m. that same day. So and like that's the only thing I didn't like with Lego when I did the May 4th thing. And that's where I got, what did I get on May 4th? I got Vader's Castle. And I got really annoyed because that took like a week. And this is the thing, Amazon has ruined my delivery expectations. If it's not there next day, I think there's a problem with the order or it's been delayed.
I would say though, like I think you're totally justified with that because I've not said this for a while, but I used to see it quite often. Lego were the worst company to buy Lego off because you have to spend £50 or more to get free delivery.
Free shipping.
Go to Smith's, it's 20 quid. Go to Amazon, it's Prime.
Prime, you get it free one day. Like it's not ideal.
4 or 5 days with Lego, and
exactly.
Then
and that's the biggest problem I have with it. It's the waiting time. I'm really impatient.
Like one set goes on sale once a year, so
exactly. I am tempted to buy more, but the problem is I'm running out of space. Like literally, I bought the Razor Crest. I bought the Razor Crest without actually having space for it. So there's a little like shelf above my bed that's hovering over my head when I sleep, and I've just had to put it on there because I've got nowhere else to put it. But I'm like, I really want to get a UCS gunshot. Oh wait, I can't put it anywhere because my desk is so crammed. I've got my one monitor there, my PS5 there. I've got Lego there. I've got Lego there. It's falling out of everywhere. Like I think that entire cupboard in there is filled with broken down old Lego sets. And that entire cupboard above there, if I open that, Lego boxes fall out. I keep all my boxes. It's like I'm trying to think of something it relates to. Like the second you open it, you touch one thing incorrectly, everything comes out.
Do you have any, when you see like old sets, do you have any like old sets?
So most of them I actually sold. Because when I was a kid, I didn't have, and I could get a job or I could just sell all my old Lego. I did the sell Lego bit, which breaks my heart. I had the Endor bunker, I had that. Which
is rumored to be coming back next year.
Oh, is it?
For the Return of the Jedi 40 years.
Yeah,
it's potentially going to be the next Master Builder series set. It's all rumors at this point. But,
to be fair, I find Lego leaks to be pretty accurate as leaking goes.
Yeah,
but I used to have that one. In terms of old sets, my mate actually, because the same one I was talking about earlier, he actually found a bunch of old Lego Star Wars stuff he had, and I actually bought the Captain Rex set off of him because he's like, "Oh, I've got the Phase 2 Rex." I'm like, "What?" I've got a Phase 2 Rex. I'm like, do you have any offers? No. Okay, 60 quid. There you go. I bought like the entire set of him. And was 60 quid a good deal? Probably not. Do I care? No, I've got a Phase 2 Rex minifigure.
Yeah. Well, I suppose at the time, look who it is. We were just talking about you. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. All good, I'm sure. I can assure you. But with the Phase 2s, it depends on when you bought it because once upon a time it might not have been. But that set now, you would probably pay about £120 for it. So
it's like the Grand Admiral Thrawn set, the one of the Phantom. It's like all of the Rebel sets, in fact. They all went to like random places because Rebels was not popular when it came out. Then it's kind of had this resurgence recently.
Yeah.
And the Ghost is worth 200 quid. The Thrawn minifigure is worth 60. I'm like, and this is my problem with it. If you look at it, the rank plaque is wrong. It's supposed to be blue, red, and gold. It's only blue and red. I'm like, I would pay. I legit, hands down, I would pay £50 for that minifigure if they had the thing right.
For Thrawn.
Yeah. They've got, so if you look at it, it's supposed to, 1 minute, I've got I've got a book. It doesn't have his rank plaque on it. Why is Alliances might have the rank plaque on it. Yeah, it does. So if you look at the rank plaque here, he says he has 6. Trying to grip it right.
Oh,
6
yeah,
blue ones, 2 yellow ones, and 2 red ones. Wait, it's got the red one on the wrong way around.
And the blue ones are all to the left or to his right.
Yeah, and then you've got yellow and red
Yeah.
as well. Like, it's weird, and it's something that would just get on my nerves. I still want that minifigure, don't get me wrong. If I can find a good deal on it, I will get it. But I think one of my mates has, like, the Rebels Wookiee gunship, which has Kanan, so I might try and just nab the Kanan minifigure off him.
There's a couple, I think there's like a speeder set. No, is there? Or it might be the gun. No, it is the gunship. It is that. But
yeah, there's the Wookiee gunship. I think there is a speeder set as well. Thrawn is just a beautiful chiss boy. I love him. I love him to pieces. He's an absolute legend.
What I would say though, James, is they did let this figure down. So that's the first time I've ever known that one about his ranking. Totally didn't get that. But these are the dual modal legs, which aren't from this fig. I added them because they should have had them for the black boots.
Was it just white?
Legs, just all white. And then he has, you can see like, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see like the tiny little gold notches.
Yeah, he's supposed to have gold patches on his shoulders. He doesn't have them.
That part exists. It's like the gold thing that goes across, but they didn't give him it.
Yes.
So people add that on as well. I just haven't
have you seen any of the Ascendancy uniform?
About you as well, Henry.
Oh, hello. Have you seen any of the Ascendancy uniform Thrawn? Like what he looks like in his Ascendancy uniform?
No.
If we get that on a minifigure, I will pay money for that. It's like, so I'm going to just try and describe it. I'll send you an image on Discord later. It's like a full black uniform, and the chiss have these gold chains. They have loads of these with these little gold symbols on it, and it's really cool. Like, so I forget Veritas has got it spot on. I don't know if you've seen actually, Veritas, the out of print copies for Thrawn, especially the Ascendancy books, have all of his his full glory chiss uniforms. They all look beautiful. They are so well designed. And honestly, they've got a copy of Lesser Evil coming out next month, April 26th. It's $150. I'm paying that for the cool cover and the signature.
Is it black? Is it?
It's all black. Let me just quickly get it up.
I've got it here, I think. Well, there are like loads of different versions of it. Black with the gold, and then like the shoulder and chest piece across the top.
Yes. So let me just. Yeah, here we go. So this is the first one. That, and then there is also his second one, which is Lesser Evil, which is that. They're very well designed in terms of artwork. I love it. Like Thrawn is just perfection. He's just perfection.
He's definitely the character for me that I would like to see more of, and obviously we are going to get more of him.
But, the thing is, when I didn't actually get fully into Star Wars since like before. When was it? It was before like after Mando season 2 was when I was fully into it. Like I didn't watch the Clone Wars till like 2020, 2021. Like, I'd say like early lockdown. I didn't watch any of it, and now I've read 30 books. I've watched 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, 4 seasons of Rebels. Like honestly, it's mad. Yes, so, here we go. And we got Aralani there as well in the all-white chiss uniform. It's amazing. I love it. So yeah, you've got the one with the gold chains in the bottom second on the left. That one. Yes, that one. And then there's one of him standing really imperiously, like up, and he's got it, and he looks like So that's some art from Lesser Evil. That's Thrawn and Mithrasophis. There's if you search Greater Good, that one there, that second on the left top.
Oh,
Top
this
second
one.
on the left. That one.
Yeah.
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 That as a minifigure, easy
Beautiful.
money. Easy money.
No, I agree. I think I'd like to see them do it, but it's just that thing that
It's
with Lego,
unlikely.
well,
It's really
I don't think
unlikely.
it's unlikely. I think it's more the execution of it sometimes. But they have,
Mm.
to be fair, they've been good lately. Did you, by any chance, I'm interested to get your take on, did you see the little video I posted yesterday of the clone 187th rumor? So the
I don't think I did.
187th Legion.
I'll be
which
sure to
is,
look it up. I don't think I've
so
seen that one.
it's the rumor is, and it comes from a source that is pretty good with like leaks and rumors.
Yes.
But the source is it's the 187th, which is actually, I mean, it's Legends, but it's distant Legends in that it's the Black Series fig that Hasbro released, and that's the only reference to it. And
I think I know this one. Yeah, I think I remember hearing about it at some point. 187th. Let me look this up.
I'll see if I've got the picture actually.
Because I don't think I've heard of them. Because
So
I know I'd like to think I know my clone legions fairly well. I don't remember the 187th.
So the 187th only exist as a named clone corpse. They only exist as I'll show you here. Let's see if this works.
So yeah, they're purple, kind of like the Coruscant Guard shock troopers, but with purple instead. Yes. Wikipedia here is saying that in Legends supposedly, in canon supposedly, according to Wikipedia, again, Wikipedia is not great for a primary source. I want to make that clear. According to them, it's Mace Windu's division, but I don't. What's their source on that actually? Apparently their source is an episode. Apparently it's on the StarWars.com site, so actually it might be credible.
So this is them here. That was TNT
yes.
too.
Okay.
So there is an episode of the Clone Wars where Mace Windu potentially has his own clone troop, but they're in it ever so briefly. But their printing does not represent this like at all. So that's like a bit of a thing. But the person who's claiming that this is the thing, like this is the one that's been shared, but the main thing here is the clone heads are the old style clone heads. They don't seem to be the more Tamura Morrison kind of darker skin tone, that kind of orangier skin tone like what we got with the 501st and even the clone blister packs.
Yeah.
Also, some of these look very, very decaled, but
yeah, they don't look. Also, why now are we getting these figs? What's the context for them? Why would we get like a battle pack for the most obscure legion whilst not having a 212 battle pack? Like that's the thing that comes to my mind, really.
We don't know. And sometimes, what it could be Kenobi related, because we don't know. First of all, we don't know if it's legit, but if it is legit, when will they come? Now, if they are released in the summer or towards maybe even the August release, which is always the big one, is it August or September? If they might do the release then, and if so, it could well be that actually it's on the back of the Kenobi show, and they could show up as a flashback or something like that. So it might be a bit of like retroactive installation. But and that's the other thing as well that Stevie's just pointed out there is the box in the background is actually for Bespin Duel, so it's not even like their own box. So it's really weird. And yes, Christ the Fever, to me they look like actual Lego figs, but they look like they've been stripped and decaled. They to me they look decaled. So
it doesn't look really legitimate. I'm not sure. It could be, but why Mace Windu clone figs now? It seems like a bit of a weird time to do it. Like it's weird.
But this is the thing though with Lego, they just kind of do it when they want, sort of thing.
Exactly.
And who knows?
Like why did we get the UCS gunship last year? we could have probably got it like years prior.
Well, that was. I mean, got it. Well, this is it. But I think it was on the back of a vote, wasn't it? So the fans and collectors got to vote.
Yes. Yeah,
what
yeah,
they
yeah.
wanted, and they asked for Mace Windu in it, and then they complained about the figs and all that. But
And they didn't like Commander Cody that wasn't in it, even though it was the Battle of Geonosis and Cody wasn't
yeah,
there.
it did. It totally didn't need. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah. Although it
it's
looks like from the new shots of the Skywalker saga that I'm very excited for, there is going to be a Cody that you can play in that's at least like. So I think what they've done is that's not an actual minifigure they've made. They just they communicate with Lego and make their own
yeah,
models with their own design files, I think.
yeah.
But my God, that game is something else.
I'm
It is.
really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's
I was heartbroken when it got delayed last year because like it was during lockdown. I'm like, I swear to God, if I'm not getting this and I can't just sit in my pajamas all day or supposedly doing college work playing this, I'm not going to be happy.
Do you know whose idea was it to release it on a Tuesday? Like, whose idea was that? The April the 5th is the Tuesday.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I'm like, do I book the day after off work? I don't know if I want to book the day after off work because I've got stuff to do and I don't want to use my holiday.
I work from home and I arrange my own diary. So like that's the bit. No, it's not it's not. Because I can just be like, yeah, like I'm busy doing paperwork this day, like, and that's not a good thing. So
I guess
it's, and I don't want to take holidays for it, but
yeah,
We'll
exactly. I think I might take a couple. I don't know. It depends. That I'll play it the night it comes out for sure. I'm probably gonna get it on both PS5 and Steam because Steam actually has on PC you have remote play, so you will be able to play. I don't quote me on this. I think you can play multiplayer because on the previous Lego games you got the remote play feature. So like I've played Lego Lord of the Rings like online with a mate because Steam have that extra feature in there. But if they're implementing that for the Skywalker Saga, I can't say. But I've got a feeling if they're doing it for the old ones, if you can do it for like any prior Lego game, I can imagine they would do it for the Skywalker Saga. But yet again, this is not an official source of information. This is speculation. And they've been very quiet on whether or not it will be online.
I thought they'd come out. I thought they'd actually actively come out and said that you can't play online co-op, but that's all I know.
They might add it later, depending on its demand. I hope you can, because given everything that's happened with like the pandemic, you would think they would implement that rather than only having local play.
Yeah, and I think as well with the size of the game, and obviously it's had its issues, and to their credit, they've wanted to release a really good game. It could be that pulling the online feature has allowed for a sensible release to then further develop the online feature in the back.
Yes,
that's what happened with GTA 5. Like
that's a good point. Yeah,
available, so
I think that would be ideal, really. And they really could, if they wanted to, add in so much stuff with an online open world Star Wars thing. Like, I don't know if you've played The Old Republic.
I haven't. No.
It's available on PC, but you don't need a gaming PC per se to run it. It will run on like a potato. Like it's really low hardware, but that is essentially a massive open world Star Wars game. Obviously, it's not canon again, but still, it's cool. And they could easily do that with Skywalker Saga.
Yeah, I do fancy getting it, but I don't know if, and I've never been a PC gamer, and so I've never really looked into it. But I got my MacBook last year, and I don't know if all of these now it has the Steam software on there, but I don't know what I can and can't play.
I think it should work. If not, though, there's a feature that you can do on Macs. It's essentially you can split your hard drive.
Yeah.
Run Windows on one half, run Mac OS on the other. It's called like Boot Camp, I think. I had a mate in college that had a MacBook Pro, and the second we sat down in computer science, he would like tap a couple keys and he'd switch to Windows. And apparently it works fine. I mean, I've done it I built myself like a homemade media server so I could like remotely access videos for all like DVDs from like anywhere I wanted, really. And you can use dual booting OS. It's a bit of a confusing thing to explain, but you can basically split it so you run Windows on this, Mac on this, and you select when you turn it on. So like you press power and then you just choose, do you want Windows or Mac? And like, you could do it that way. It is a bit of a pain in the ass. That's the only thing.
It's worth having a look at, but hopefully it works on Steam itself, on because
Yes.
Steam is on Mac, so hopefully that works. Do you know, it's that thing that I bought it last year in lockdown. I bought it early, about this time, maybe a little bit earlier last year.
Mm.
So, and then everything was locked down again and nothing opened till like April. So I always intended to go into the App Store because it was the first time I've had an iPad and phone for years, but never had a MacBook or any sort of
Yes, yeah, I'm the
Mac.
same.
So I thought, I'll go into the Apple Store and like get them to just give me a bit of a, like, tell me what I can and can't do, but never bothered.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Macs are imitating in some things, but excel in others. It's really hit and miss with Macs. I've always been Windows. Like my first computer, which is funny because I was I think I was year 8 when this happened, year 7. So they're looking at 5 years ago, maybe. My first computer I owned was a Windows XP PC that my dad built 20 years prior to to when I had it. So now it's like a 25, 30-year-old machine. And that was my first computer. So I remember trying to get Happy Wheels to work on it. And that failing because the internet couldn't keep up. It was a very bad experience. But I've always been a Windows user.
Yeah. Well, my brother, he works in, so my brother's like 21, and he works in IT. He's always been a Windows gamer.
Yes,
but I've just thought like I could get him involved, but nah, he's probably never mind. But,
it's also incredibly expensive when it comes to PC gaming. Well, to be fair, next gen consoles aren't making it easy. Like I got my PS5 a few months ago. That was way too expensive.
Yes.
Like that, and that's the thing with them. I've always thought that the consoles were supposed to be affordable, and that was like their main thing. And now, like, being a kid now must suck, because I remember saying to my parents when I was a kid, going, "Can I get the Xbox 360?" And they go, "How much was it?" "Oh, it's £180 second hand." No, not getting it. And nowadays, I'm saying, "Can I have a PlayStation 5? How much is it? 500 quid. You can do one." That would have been the response.
I can't even justify. So I've got an Xbox One still at the minute. I've never switched to the X, and I will get a PS5. But I've never made that move. But it's just that thing. I can't even justify it to myself.
It's the price. I mean, having owned one, I can say it's worth what you pay for it. But it's a lot of money. it's a lot of money.
I mean,
and I'm not going to say the price is 100% justified, because it could have been cheaper. But again, the amount of stuff that, like, it runs some games better than my PC, and my PC has spent like 800 quid on. Like, in that sense, it is incredibly effective. But again, it's not for the demographic it's for. It's not at that kind of level. It's weird. Yeah. It's weird.
I have to point out the irony of me saying I can't justify spending £450 on a when there's like 1,300 quid's worth of.
I think. Did you buy the UCS Falcon?
I got the Star Destroyer this week as well. So both of them are sat on the other side of the desk. I
envy you. Like, I've literally, because I occasionally, because I'm basically, I took a year out after college, and I've been working through it, and like I occasionally mention things to my mum before I buy them. So like my most recent big purchase was this. Very nice. I love it to pieces. Practical? No. Cool? Yes.
Is it a Disney one?
It's the Black Series. So it's really good actually for what it's like $250, I think. But given what you're paying, like you can spend like $400 and not get anything like that good. But I occasionally mention, and she literally went to me, "If you buy that, you are moving out and going into your own apartment. I cannot support you if you're spending £700 on Lego Star Wars sets." You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's your house.
Yeah. I had a similar conversation with my wife, to be honest, but
yes,
it's just, I had to justify it, but I got away with it. But
I wouldn't. I tried to get a Lord of the Rings sword a few months ago. "You're not having weaponry in this house." I'm like, "It's not weaponry, it's decoration."
Fair play.
I only got away with the lightsaber because it's blunt.
and you can split it up, hide it. Nobody will ever.
Yeah, exactly. The blade is currently off balance. It's probably It's on the floor over there. That's where it is.
We,
It's there.
When we started, talked about kind of what brought you into TikTok and talking about all of that. Obviously, we're quite early in the year, so it's still a great opportunity to think about like what you would like to kind of achieve this year and what you would like to do.
Yes.
Do you
Of course.
where are you? Do you have in mind like where you would like to go with this, or are you just very much
absolutely.
kind of like
So really, what I'm trying to do is on my page, and it's really just to try and talk about it as in as positive as of a light as possible.
Mhm.
Now, of course, I'm not going to like everything, but when I don't like something, I'm going to at least try and make it open-ended. So, one thing is Book of Boba Fett episodes 5 and 6. Now, was it cool? Hell yeah, it was cool. Was it what I wanted? No, it could have been something else.
I agree.
It was out of place. It was poorly placed. It was amazing, but it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what Book of Boba Fett was supposed to be. But like even talking about that, I was like, Book of Boba Fett was awesome. I love this content, but this was not the place for it. And then but it's really just talking about Star Wars, talking about lore. I love answering questions and correcting, talking about that kind of aspect. Alongside just talking about things I like. The main thing, and a lot of the time why I make stuff about the sequels in particular, I like correcting bad misconceptions about things and explaining my own, like it's very rare that I have a thought process about a character that I think I can vocalize well. So like on certain characters, I really like doing like a long video, like talking about why I like it. And then like Thrawn is going to start becoming a focus because I'm just been completely re-immersed in those books. But it's really like, and in terms of followers, and I don't want to sound like that guy. I'm not really fussed. It's more of just I'm doing it because I enjoy what I'm doing, and
absolutely.
it's really I'm as long as my videos are reaching people, I don't really mind. I don't mind about like questions. I love getting questions. People disagreeing with me as well. Like I had a guy who, because obviously I've talked a lot of times on my page about the fandom being toxic, and I had a guy saying, not to be rude, but are you not just being a bit insensitive or overly sensitive? And I was like, see, I could have approached this and just gotten angry at the bloke, but instead I thought, you know what, I'll talk about it. And honestly, that is mainly what I'm trying to do, is just talk about things into as much of a possible light as possible. And in terms of like any particular statistic goals, I'd quite like to get to 5K by the end of the year, which I think is attainable.
That'll happen. Yeah. That'll happen.
Because I'm at 2, so I think I could multiply that at least, because I think I started July or late July, early August. So I think it's achievable, especially if I have another video blow up like I did, because essentially the ranking videos carried my page.
And it's tough sometimes because you think, oh, let's do more of them, but then you lose touch of what you like. But I would say there is a balancing act, and like because you've done your whole like pose, Roger.
Yes, I've done 3 of those now. I can't get away with doing another one.
All right,
otherwise it just becomes a thing that sticks, and I don't want it to.
But think of those that like certainly use them as they come.
Absolutely.
Think about what they're doing. And then kind of go from there as well. Hey, look, if anybody's going to give, if you were to ever take any advice from anyone, I mean, it has to be the man himself, Mr. Matt Mellish.
Exactly. I completely agree with what you said there.
But yeah, and that's exactly it. Is it's right now I've brought back the whole custom Lego Star Wars thing where we like make somebody a Jedi.
Yeah, I love that series.
Do you know what, that burns me out so much though? Like, and like people are like,
I can imagine
people jump on it and they're like, do this, do that, and I love doing it, but all of a sudden I'm like, right, I'm done with that, and I'm not going to come back to that for another 6 months.
You can't get away from it as well, because loads of people are asking you to talk about it. It's quite difficult.
Yeah,
and like I've had that to some extent, where I've just gotten to the point now where I have to start tagging people in videos, especially the ones that cause discourse. So like the sequel trilogy rankings, where I said I thought The Last Jedi was good. Didn't like the comment section on that one. And the funny thing is, I turned comment filters on, and it actually archived 1,400 comments. Comments.
Impressive.
I could put them back in, but I have to scroll through 1,600
have to
comments of people
manually-
insulting
yeah.
me. I'm like, I'm not bothering. I'm not bothering with it. Like, and in that respect, I've had that point where I'm like, I can't keep answering questions about why I like this thing because I keep getting the same content. I had someone comment, this is the funniest thing I've ever read. Because they said, oh no, writing is objective. And I said, oh no, it's like a form of art. Art is subjective. Like, no, art is not subjective. I'm like, oh, face palm. Face palm.
It's that comment filter thing. I didn't realize it existed, and then I had it switched on, and then I went back and found it. And it's quite funny sometimes. Some of the stuff goes on.
I all of a sudden because I occasionally on like videos that don't get traction, you can see the bottom of my comment section easily. And on one of them, I had a review comments thing. I'm like, the hell is this? I've never seen this before. And I clicked on it. I saw sometimes it filters out stuff that's like not completely fine. I thought, oh, wait a minute. So I've seen some of the bad stuff that's come through. Let's see about some of the bad stuff that didn't come through. And that was very bad.
People just go off, don't they?
God, don't get me started.
It's like I did my Jedi, like as I see my Jedi thing, and putting Plo Koon, Pong Krell at the bottom. But I knew what was coming. But I
100%.
I kind of did it on purpose, but then I did what annoys me is I did the follow-up video as a reply. So the reply sits at the top of them comment sections as to like, and I titled it "My Thoughts on Pong Krell," but people still comment on it and be like,
and they don't see it.
I'm like, wait, you see the video, but never mind. That is TikTok. Have you done any lives yet? I haven't seen you live.
I've done one. I'm not really into lives per se. I don't know. It if I'm doing something, then maybe like if I was streaming, I've considered streaming. I'm probably going to do like a stream of the Skywalker Saga when that comes out. I'm in talks with a friend of mine of maybe co-streaming it if the Steam thing does have that remote play feature, because then you can be one of the small groups that can actually play multiplayer, and that's not a thing that can really happen. But I did one when I was on, because I've made quite good friends with people that are over in the US. And I've been on their podcast a couple of times, and I've done I think I did one co-live, and that was it. But I don't know. I find it quite, because I've not done it before, and I don't know if I'll get that many people in for it. I feel like it could be quite awkward, but I'll probably do it at some point. But like when I'm building a Lego set or something.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So definitely, before you answer this question, it just gives you time to think about it. But from a growth perspective, live is everything. And just when you think of a Q&A perspective, people quite
ask
often
questions in lives.
Yeah, just like let's chat. James 100%. Is a great example. He goes live and either chats or he'll just play like whatever he's playing.
I think I've seen a few of them pop up. Yeah.
It's such a great way of like interacting. So I definitely encourage it. Don't do it for the sake of it, but at the same time, like it definitely has a place in your content, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because it's a great, when I look at your comments and the good side of it, people are very and those people will be the people who join your live, and they just get a way of interacting with you. People join your live, see that interaction, and go on from there. But
absolutely
definitely encourage it. And
I'll
do call lives with people as well if you can.
Exactly.
It's a great way of just.
I've contemplated doing that, because occasionally we just go into like a VC and Discord and just talk about things. But again, sometimes comments, like things we talk about in there, aren't exactly for certain audiences.
That's why I get it. Yeah.
Oh, biggest what scenario.
Do you want me to tell you mine while you think of yours?
Go ahead. I'm going to take a long, hard think about this.
So I take this, it has to be like the slightest of nuance. Like it has to be this, it can't be like I take this as like, it can't be a total change. It has to be like almost like the butterfly flapping its wings can have that like knock-on effect. So like that one little thing changes. In mine is at the end of Empire Strikes Back, R2 fixes the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon. That like he does not do that, because it's that moment where everybody always talks about Luke turning at the end of Return of the Jedi, but at that point, Luke is not turning. He could have turned at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and he was at his most vulnerable in that moment.
That is an incredibly good scenario.
Vader father. Like I watched that film, right, and you know when people watch Revenge of the Sith, and every time they hope, like you always see people say, I just hope this time he doesn't. I watch Empire hoping R2 doesn't fix the hyperdrive.
Yeah. Honestly, that is a really good scenario. I've just thought of one, and it's not a popular one. So, and it's again Thrawn related. You wouldn't guess that I like Thrawn. So Thrawn, the way Thrawn was found was like he was stationed on an abandoned planet, and he was found by the Empire. What if he was found by the rebels? That Thrawn as a rebellion leader would be fascinating.
Many lives would have been saved in the war. Would
many lives.
3 years.
Yeah, because the thing with Thrawn is he's not really, well, I wouldn't call him evil. I would say he's done bad things. He's not evil per se. Like he's never done anything. Actually, I know, I take that back. He has done a couple of atrocities. But definitely that one as well. R2 in the Royal Cruiser.
Yeah.
Or if it was just another astromech, we would never have. Would that astromech have that personality that R2 would have? Probably not. Probably wouldn't be as like notable. What if it was like a protocol droid? Well, actually, that wouldn't work. But like a different droid, like
suffered, didn't they?
You could have like so many things that would just make a catastrophic impact on things. And one I'd like to see is what if Obi-Wan and Yoda went to see Anakin on that one as well. With that would be.
We're supposed to be wrapping up now, man. We're just no, I totally agree. I think that you could almost go like film by film, because I think Duel of the Fates, like what if like quite.
That's my favorite talking point, Duel of the Fates. It's amazing.
What if like Obi-Wan had been able to stick with Qui-Gon and they took down Maul, and then like essentially they'd saved Anakin. Like it would have been a very different.
It would have been phenomenal, because when you look at Anakin, he didn't have that father he could trust. And I honestly think that if Qui-Gon had survived, he would have tried to, because the Jedi only allowed Anakin to be trained because of Qui-Gon's last request, really. I think Qui-Gon would have taken Anakin outside the Jedi Order, which is in itself an amazing thing, because Palpatine was basically was holding the Jedi Council by the balls because of how integrated into the Republic the Jedi were. So had he have been taken away from that, he would have been taken away from the Republic. He would have been taken away from Palpatine. It would have been an entire different thing. It would have been fascinating to see. And when like confronted with things about his mother, Qui-Gon would have viewed it as the Force is trying to tell you something, so you should never go. What if Lucas never? We would have nothing. In all honesty, we'd
still be waiting. That's probably the reality of that. We'd be just.
We'd probably get a sequel trilogy that everyone would still say sucked. Because we all know how the prequels went. There's always people that don't like things, but we would have like no content. But honestly, the prequels are really just like a staple mark for where things go wrong. So really, that's where the most what if scenarios are for me, and I would love to see a show exploring these what if scenarios. Like we've had it with Marvel, we can have it with Star Wars. They just don't want to do it, but I want it to happen. It would be so interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with that, and this is where like Visions gets really interesting, because Visions unlocks the door for things like that happening. Doesn't have to be in the same animation style, doesn't have to be that, but what it's saying is we can talk about things that aren't actually like have that continuity to the main canon. So very interested to see where it goes on.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's I keep saying this, and like it's we all rant so much, and we sometimes rant about each other and the rest of the fandom and all that, but like there has never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan than right now. And it's only going to get better. And I think the 5 movies, like were great to have, but I feel like they were a little bit rushed as far as like Disney were like, we need to get something out. We've bought Lucasfilm, we need to get something out. But I
I
think
can understand that. Yeah.
I think they figured it out. They've got all the pawns in the right place now,
Mm.
and the real gold is coming from where we are now. The Mandoverse, the plan, like the fourth, like the greater universe that they're going to build upon.
We've got so much more stuff in canon. That's the thing.
Yeah,
None of the books prior to Disney were ever considered canon by George Lucas. Disney has given us canon books. These would not exist had Disney not bought. They would not have as much relevance on Star Wars. Like it would be, it would be so much lacking. But like, the books are expanding to like the High Republic in particular. I don't know if there are any people in here that have read it. It's a massive eye opener to the Jedi and the Force in general. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I need to get on that. So this is a really good point. Generally, it's we don't have this question, the answer to this question.
Yeah,
I'm so intrigued by where the next Star Wars movie is coming.
We had
from.
a streak of just having them one in cinema every Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember every year our family would have like the same thing for like 4 years of just going, oh, it's New Year's, let's watch the new Star Wars movie. And it's a shame we don't have that anymore. But like I think Rogue Squadron is the next. It's the only film I'm aware of coming out.
I thought there was a series. I didn't realize that was a.
No, there's Rangers of the New Republic is the series.
Yeah.
I'm 90. Yeah, no, because it's directed by Patty Jenkins, who did Wonder Woman.
Okay.
I think it was postponed indefinitely because she's a very busy lady, so it's unsure.
No, basically, what's happening here is nobody wants anything to do with Star Wars creatively because of how much like fodder came on the last round of Star Wars people.
Yeah, and just look at J.J. Abrams' comment section on his most recent post. It's not friendly in the slightest.
What's happened?
Oh, your webcam's gone off. Oh,
yeah, that's weird. It's back. Weird that it brought a Brixton sig fig as well. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's off when that was the Brixton. Are you hacking me? But yeah. But yeah, I mean, very interested to see what comes of it. But I think, even like the two guys that directed and created all of the Game of Thrones stuff, they had a trilogy, which ultimately was what led to the downfall of Game of Thrones because they wanted to go off and make Star Wars. Theirs was cancelled. Rian Johnson, does he still have an agreement for his trilogy?
That's a good question. I think it was put on an indefinite hold, but I don't know for certain. I don't even know what the trilogy was supposed to be on. A lot of people were speculating it's the Old Republic, but I'm not sure. It would be. I'm interested to find out because I don't think there's any information regarding it other than the fact he's doing a trilogy. We don't know what it's on, but he's doing one. Is the consensus I have of it? Really.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where they go with that. So Matt, we did kind of cover this, but we more talked about like characters and who we would like to see brought back a little bit. So then we shared the stuff from the Instagram comments and stuff like that. But yeah, feel free to browse back at your leisure and have a look through that.
Yeah.
But final lesson thought, because we haven't talked about non-Star Wars stuff, and I don't want to kind of open that can of worms. But just as a final thought for you, outside of Star Wars, obviously so much is happening this year, and I know you're a fan of stuff like not just that, as we tend to all be. But what are you like particularly looking forward to? What are you most looking forward to in over 2020?
So that is a good question. Stranger Things, I'm excited to see where they're going with that.
Yeah.
That's not really been talked about much. I was thinking about making a video, but there's not really enough information. Stranger Things, definitely. What else have we got? We've got Multiverse of Madness, although I'm not. This is the thing. No Way Home, I was really excited for. Multiverse of Madness, I'm not. I've seen the trailer. I know that we could get big things. I'm just not excited for it. It's weird.
I don't think Doctor Strange is at the same level of hype as Spider-Man, though.
No,
but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think those sort of films that we you don't go in expecting much, and then you come out like lifted. The film ends up being a hell of a lot better than your expectations.
Exactly. In terms of other projects, Secrets of Dumbledore, that's coming out. I forgot about it. I'm excited for that as well. Because I reread the Harry Potter books. It would have been October, November now. I re-listened to them all. Because Stephen Fry does like an audio thing on Audible. I re-listened. I am excited to hear about some like past. It's called Secrets of Dumbledore. We're going to find some stuff out that's going to be interesting. I can't wait for that. Because there's a lot of speculation on whether they had a relationship.
Yes, him
Whether
and Grindelwald.
Dumbledore was gay with Grindelwald or
Yeah.
regarding that. And honestly, that would be interesting. I would happily see that explored, because we've not really had much of that in Harry Potter.
Well, I've never seen the second Fantastic Beasts film.
I think it's Crimes of Grindelwald, isn't it?
Crimes of Grindelwald, yeah, I've never seen it.
I've seen it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I probably will watch it and then go and see it. And I saw the trailer for it when I went to you have seen the same when you went to see the Batman last night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not light me up. I don't actually mind it. I know you. I know where you're coming from, Matt. It was more kind of relevant to that selection, but I just feel like I don't know. I feel like the Fantastic Beasts series is to the Harry Potter series what The Hobbit is to the Lord of the Rings.
I can see what you mean. Yeah, they're just trying to make money.
Somewhat, yeah. But I don't know.
Granted, I actually really like the Hobbit films. I think they got a lot of hate. I didn't like Battle of the Five Armies. That was awful. I hated that film. I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. It's one I watched like once, and I thought I don't really want to watch that again. It was all right, but the first one I thought was amazing. The second one was all right, and then the third one was just like, okay, you're just trying to make this another movie. You could have fit this into the second one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's
right.
Just too stretched out.
They didn't need to make it a trilogy. They could have. I think 2 films would have been ideal, really, because I think 1 film would have been too much. But a 2-parter definitely could have been done, because the books have so much detail. Like, I've got my copy of Lord of the Rings up here. This is the single volume illustrated version, right? It's a chunky book.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff, and these pages are wafer. They're tiny. They're incredibly thin. So it's got like what is it, like 1,079, 1,080, something like that. It's incredible the amount of stuff they have in these books. And The Hobbit is, well, yes, a lot shorter. There is so much stuff in there.
I've read Lord of the Rings. I've never read The Hobbit, but I know it is a lot shorter. But
it's a lot more. I think The Hobbit came out first, and then he did the Lord of the Rings like a follow-up.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
But the Hobbit book it's a lot more easy to digest than Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings, I read it and I'm like, who is this person? You're mentioning this guy. I don't know that guy. There's too many syllables in that name for me to actually remember who they are. Like,
it'd make a good audio book. It'll keep you busy.
Yes. However, like they had the appendix at the end of Return of the King. I couldn't follow it. I got like 10 minutes into the audiobook, and I'd rather listen to music at this point. I don't understand a word that's being said here. I don't get it. Like, it's because they make all the names really ridiculous. Like, you've got Ethelethluin or something like that, or Hemvelideden. I'm like, I don't know who that is, and why are you making the name annoying? Just make it simple. Like, Bilbo was all right. Bilbo, Frodo, like Legolas if you must, but come on. They're taking the mick a bit.
Yeah, it's probably just like a bit of fun on his side.
Probably. I mean, he wrote the entire Elvish language. Elvish is actually an entire language you can read, write, and speak. Like, people are fluent in Elvish, which is somewhat surprising to me. I'll be honest. If you've got the time and dedication to learn the language of Elvish, all the power to you, because I couldn't bloody do it.
It's the same with Klingon, isn't it? There are people who can read. I don't know how much it's spoken, but Arabish as well. Like people speak that, but they can read and write Arabish. But Arabesh, is it?
Or a Besh, yeah.
Arabesh, but
Like that's basically just like a cipher, really. It's like you don't speak it because I think Orabesh is how you write basic, where basic is English, and then it's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Lord of the Rings series as well.
I am really looking forward to it. It got a lot of controversy online.
I don't know.
It's I mean, the main thing I saw was there's the ethnicity of the elf. The new one, they're like, Tolkien said that they can't be. I'm like, okay, so theoretically, let's say he did. Why is it a problem if they change that? Surely it's a better thing if they change that, as well as considering that if you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy and you read the Lord of the Rings book, Aragorn is very different. Like he's very different.
Like 7 foot tall or something in the book,
something like that, and like his character as well has a lot of changes. Like I find that the Aragorn we see in Lord of the Rings is very much like afraid of his responsibilities and not like overly. But Aragorn in the book's like, I am Aragorn. I'm the rightful king of Gondor. He's like that. I didn't like. They're completely different, and yet again, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is held to such high esteem, as it should, because it's an amazing trilogy of films. But you can't say you like that when it fundamentally changes things about a character, and then go in when they change like the color of one's skin, and then rant about it. Like, honestly, if you're doing that, touch grass is all I'm going to say. Like, you clearly aren't going outside.
No, I agree. It's like there are
awful.
worse things to get hung up on. There are a lot worse things to get hung up on. But yeah, I'm looking forward. Do you know, I'm really looking forward to, and I had a bit of a freak out moment last night because I thought it had been delayed again, but I've done a bit of research and apparently not, is Morbius. Because I'm really interested to see how they expand the Spider-Verse.
Like that film is... Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if you noticed, but when it was on the Batman, it came up as like coming soon or this year. It didn't post the date, and I was like, have they pulled the date? But I think it's here. I don't know if it's because it's a universal. It'll be a global trailer, and the we are getting it on the 31st of March, whereas I think
this month,
I think in America they get it like a day or two later. So. When Andrew Garfield turns up again and it's him as Spider-Man, we're going to ruin it for all you Americans.
It's weird, though, because they're showing the Oscorp as Andrew Garfield's Oscorp, but they're showing that there's a scene in the first trailer where you can see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit spray painted and graffiti and then murderer written over it.
Yeah.
But what I think they're doing, I think this was a theory, I'm just re-speaking, but I don't know who made the original one because I saw it ages ago. And the theory is it's set after the Amazing Spider-Man in that universe, and it says murderer because I think in the original for TASM 2, it's not confirmed. There are some weird like angled shots of a deleted scene that make it look like he killed Harry Osborn after, which is interesting because if he does that goes into an entire exploration of morality, and I'm all for that. And it also links up with what was said in No Way Home as like, I stopped pulling my punches. And that would exactly track because then he would just say he basically beat his best friend to death, which would be very dark, and I would be all for it. That we're getting Matt Smith. Like, come on. Matt Smith. Yeah. I love him.
I'm all good for that. So I think it's simpler than that. And this is just my like simple mind processing it, but I think it's pretty easy to figure out because it's not Tom Holland's. We know it's not Tom Holland.
Yes.
Because that's the MCU, and they left that universe. We then... So the key is Venom. So we know Morbius is set in the same universe as Venom. We know that because yes, because it's so they talk about that thing that happens in San Francisco, and then Morbius does the I am Venom like sort of thing. So they are. I'm sure I've seen it confirmed as well that they are set in this.
I'll have to look into it.
Well,
that's interesting.
So they're both Sony, aren't they? They're both, and so I'm sure I've seen it confirmed. But he references the thing that happened in San Francisco, which is Venom and Carnage, and then he does the whole I am Venom.
Yeah.
So then, Tom Hardy's Venom
Yes.
would, so he's not he's not the Sam Raimi Venom. So
No, I'm glad.
but what I mean is it's a different entity. So with that, it's not Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, because
No,
it's a
I
different
don't think it
Venom.
is.
It's a well, more, forget about Venom. It's a different Eddie Brock. That's the difference.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and that Eddie Brock, one Eddie Brock. Yeah. So Eddie Brock is, the gap is Andrews, and it makes sense because they had plans to continue Andrew Garfield's.
Yeah,
They
I want them to.
agreed to pause it, but why did they agree to pause it? Well, here you go. Here's the payoff. So yeah,
I do think they're bringing him back. In response to the why is the Vulture in the trailers? Then it's never the Vulture. It's just Michael Keaton, I think.
Yeah, it's Michael Keaton. Then
It's
it'll be
loads of people.
Toombs, Adrian Toombs.
Toombs, I think it was. Loads of people just saw Michael Keaton and instantly went, "Oh, it's the Vulture." They're linking it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not. It's just.
I think it's just Michael Toombs, Keaton. Isn't it? Yeah.
We
more of a...
we don't know. It's a weird one.
I'm looking forward to it anyway.
But I think the film was just so slept on. Like, no one's talking about it. Like, I think I saw,
they keep pushing it back, hasn't it? It's been pushed back 7 times or something.
Like Straw Hat, who I follow for a while as well. He usually like hypes up all the Marvel. He's done like one video on it. I'm like, is this supposed to be bad? I don't know. I feel like maybe Jared Leto being in it has turned people off, because he's only been in one superhero thing, and that was Suicide Squad, and we all know how that went.
Well, yeah,
but I'm open to it.
I'm really, really excited. So I love more, because my source material of Spider-Man is the 90s animated series, which Morbius, it's a very different Morbius, but I think Jared Leto is a brilliant person to pick up that just general character in general.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm hyped for it. I'm really interested to see how they connected to the wider universe. But yeah, it looks good.
It will be interesting. And it's a potential thing they could do. And honestly, I'm open to seeing more from it. It looks really interesting. But yeah, it's just no one seems to have talked about. Even when like the first trailer came out, I remember like I think I talked to one person about it, and that was it. Like I was like, "Oh, this looks really cool," and you're like, "Yeah, this looks really cool," but I never saw anyone talking about it outside it. I think it's just because it's not in the MCU, and any Marvel thing, Marvel related thing that's not in the MCU is just sidelined. But
it probably went under the radar with No Way Home anyway, and a lot of Marvel stuff last year, so nobody was talking about it. But looking forward to it. But anyway, I'm going to call it there, because we've run over the overtime anyway. But it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Same here,
guys. So if you're watching live, I must apologize. I haven't added any details to the description, but if you go to TikTok, because Grandmaster Beal right now is only on TikTok, but if you go to my last TikTok, you'll see the stitch, which is from Grandmaster Beal's video. Follow it there, you'll find his account. If you're watching this back later, because I'm all surprised by how many people do that, I will, after this stream, add all of the details, including a link to Grandmaster Beal's.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate that.
So yeah, make sure you give him check him out, give him a follow, but comment on his videos, ask him some questions, let's challenge him a little bit, and let's get him to go live as well. And if you see him live, give him a chat and go from there.
I appreciate that.
Not a problem. As for the rest of you, pesky kids, and you as well, of course, have a pleasant rest of your evening. It's a bit late now. I know you guys in America, Matt, if you're still around, you've got a few hours left. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great week, and you're still around, and yeah, have a good week. Oh, by the way, so Matt, you want to hear this? Grandmaster Beal, you want to hear this? James, if you're still around. So next week's guest, it's confirmed, but I'm always dubious about fully confirming until 48 hours before, because I feel like a week is a long time in this.
In case they cancel, yeah.
But all being planned, all going ahead as planned. Next week I'll be joined by Darth Choco.
Excellent.
So yeah, that'll be epic
good.
to have him.
Choco's
on,
always
so
a great guy to talk to about
unbelievable.
anything. I've had a few conversations with him. He's an absolute legend.
Love it. I'd always enjoy speaking to him. So yeah, it'd be great to have him on. So I'm hoping that comes off because it's a long time, but all being well, that'll happen. But thank you very much, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure both having you and having you guys watching along. So until next week, I will see you all soon. Goodbye.